India has hit its 20% ethanol blending target in petrol.
But a wave of drivers is actually pushing back, reporting
that non-availability of ethanol-free petrol was resulting in mechanical damage and leading to performance issues for vehicles.
In 2025, the government of India proudly announced a huge achievement that it managed to blend 20% ethanol into petrol we all use, and it is called E20. And government had done this 5 years ahead of schedule across more than 90,000 fuel stations. On paper, it sounded a massive win. Clean air, less dependence on foreign oil, and more money for our farmers. But then something strange happened. Instead of celebrating, millions of cars and bike owners across India got really angry. They said their mileage has dropped, their repair bills has gone up, and some even claimed that their engines were getting damaged because of E20 fuel.
नितिन गडकरी जी, अगर आपको एथेनॉल का उपयोग कहीं करना ही है तो हमारी गाड़ियों को बख्श दीजिए।
बर्बाद कर दिया नितिन गडकरी, पूरे देश को बर्बाद कर दिया नितिन गडकरी।
And this issue got so big that it reached the Supreme Court. It trended for weeks on social media, and it turned into one of the most heated policy debate in the entire country. So in this case study, we will try to understand that why is India pushing ethanol so aggressively and what are the real benefits? Is E20 fuel actually damaging your car engine and dropping mileage? What are the deeper problems with how this policy was rolled out? And finally, is there any truth to the conflict of interest allegation around this whole thing? To be fair, let's start with the government's side, because the logic behind ethanol is genuinely strong and we must understand it before we criticize anything. So what is ethanol? In simple words, it's a type of alcohol that can be produced from crops like sugarcane and grains, and it can be mixed into petrol to run your vehicles. And when you blend 20% ethanol in 80% fuel, you get E20 fuel. And India has three big and genuine reasons to push this. The first reason is energy dependence. India imports around 85% of its crude oil, and we spend a staggering amount of foreign currency buying it every year. And every liter of ethanol we make at home is a liter of petrol we don't have to import. And government already claimed that ethanol blending has already saved India over lakhs and crores of rupees in a foreign exchange, and that's the real money. The second reason is farmers. Ethanol is made from the sugarcane and the grains. So a booming ethanol industry means a guaranteed buyer for farmers' produce, which will put more money into the rural India. And the third reason is environment. Ethanol burns cleaner than the pure petrol. So blending ethanol into the petrol is supposed to be reduce pollution and India's carbon footprint. So on paper, ethanol is a beautifully win-win situation. Less oil import, richer farmers, and the clean air. This is exactly why Union Minister Nitin Gadkari and government have campaigned it so aggressively for the years. But here is the thing. A good vision on paper and a good execution on ground are two very different things. So let's get to the question that's on every car owner's mind. Is E20 petrol actually harming the vehicles? And let me give you the honest and data-backed answer, because the truth sits between the government's everything is perfect or what consumers are facing, that vehicle engines are getting exploded or getting damaged. Let me first explain science simply. Ethanol has a lower calorific value than the petrol, which means 1 liter of ethanol contains less energy than 1 liter of petrol. So when you mix 20% ethanol, your fuel naturally has slightly less energy in it, which means your engine needs to be bit more fuel to travel the same distance. So a drop in mileage is not a conspiracy theory, it's a basic chemistry, and even government admits this. The real question is about how much. The government and auto industry body says the drop is very small, around 1 to 2% for new car calibrators for E20 and around 3 to 6% for older vehicles. And they also insist that E20 is completely safe, that not even a single engine failure has been officially reported to them. But now look at what actual users are reporting. A large survey by local circles with over 36,000 responses across 323 districts find something very striking. That 8 out of 10 petrol vehicle owners with a car bought in 2022 or earlier said their mileage has dropped in 2025. And more worryingly, 52% of those old vehicle owners reported unusual wear and tears on key parts like the engines, the fuel line and the tank. And along with this large survey, the independent automotive engineers confirmed that older vehicles are not designed for E20. And if E20 will be used in those older vehicles, then there can be long-term erosion on the rubber gasket, the fuel hoses and the pipes, not immediately but over the time. There was even a case of car owner in Chennai reportedly spending nearly 4 lakh rupees on repairing after water contamination linked to E20, and mechanics in several cities reported a roughly 40% rise in fuel-related complaints. So do you see the real picture? The truth is this: for a new brand car built for E20, E20 fuel might be fine for your vehicle. But if you own an older vehicle made before 2023, and by the way, there are crores of such vehicles on Indian roads, then you are very likely to see low mileage and you may face higher maintenance cost down the line. And here is the unfair part that nobody told these old vehicle owners. They bought their car for the petrol, and one day petrol simply changed under them with no compensation and no given choice. Now, here is a question that should make every one of us pause. From the very beginning of ethanol blending into the petrol, Nitin Gadkari has been very vocal about it. Basically, we were sold ethanol as a cheaper domestic fuel. So logically, if 1/5 of our petrol is now homemade ethanol, our petrol should be cheaper, right? Well, it's not. And when you dig into why, you will find two things that are genuinely hard to explain to any common man. The first thing is, in 2026, the government announced excise duty relief on ethanol blended fuel to encourage them. And normally, when a tax on something goes down, its price should go down as well. But reports confirmed that after this excise relief, petrol and diesel price at pumps did not fall at all. And the second thing is, crude oil price fall, but the petrol price did not. And this is an even older pattern. Over last few years, there have been long stretches where international price of crude oil dropped significantly. And in a fair market, cheaper crude oil means cheaper petrol. But in India, again and again, when crude oil price fall, the government simply raised the excise duty to capture that gain. For example, at one point, the global crude oil price slipped to around $63 per barrel. But the price of fuel did not drop even a single paisa because government hiked the excise duty by 2 rupees per litre. So the benefit of cheaper oil went to the government's treasury, not to the public. Now, in fairness, let me give you the government's own explanation because it's important too. The governments now openly say that E20 was never meant to make fuel cheaper on a daily basis. And recently, there has been reports that confirms that producing E20 is actually cost as much or even more than the plain petrol. So the government's honest position about the ethanol or about providing cheapest fuel after the blending of ethanol, which Nitin Gadkari has been said in the public statements, was nothing but just a dialogue. And ethanol is not a cheap fuel policy at all. It's an oil secure policy. Beyond the price and mileage, there are 3 more serious problems with how this policy was executed. And the first problem was we were given no choice. In countries like US and European Union, ethanol blended fuel exists, but fuel stations clearly label how much ethanol is in the fuel. And crucially, drivers can still choose to buy ethanol-free petrol if their vehicles need it. Whereas in India, E20 quietly became the only option at nearly every fuel station with no clear labeling and no alternative option. So a citizen with an older car had no option to protect their car engine. This is exactly why a plea in Supreme Court has challenged, demanding that ethanol content can be clearly labeled at every fuel station and customers must be given a choice. And after this Supreme Court plea, the government has since said a 100% petrol option would be offered, but since now it's only available at very few fuel stations, and that too at a very high rate of 160 rupees per liter. The problem number 2 was the transparency issue and the experiment. For the long time, the Indian government insisted E20 caused no meaningful problem. But then in June 2026, the government's own Attorney General told the Supreme Court that the administration was experimenting with a 20% blend, and that single word experimenting caused national outrage. It suggests crores of citizens' vehicles were part of an live experiment they never signed up for. The government later said that remark was misunderstood, but the damage to public trust was done. And the third problem, was it even right kind of ethanol? The original green vision promised ethanol made from the waste like the wood waste, agriculture stubble and municipal garbage. But in reality, overwhelming majority in India's ethanol is made from the sugarcane and the food grains, not from the waste. And let me remind you that at first, sugarcane is extremely water-hungry crop, and on top of that, producing 1 liter of ethanol from sugarcane can take thousands of liters of water, sustaining already a drought-prone state. Plus, diverting food grains to fuel raises real questions about the food security. So the critics ask a very sharp question. If the clean promise was waste-based ethanol, then why did we end up burning our food and our water instead? And now we comes to the most exclusive part of this entire story, and that is the allegation that this policy did not just cost consumers, but it may also personally enrich the people connected to the very ministry pushing it. And I'm going to handle this very carefully because there is a huge difference between a documented number and unproven accusations, and you deserve to know exactly which is which. And let me start with the very hard and verified financial facts because these are very striking. There are a company called Shyam Agro Industries, and its managing director is Nitin Gadkari, who is a son of Union Minister Nitin Gadkari. Now, this company used to be a small and sleepy agro processing farm dealing in edible oils, but around 2024 it pivoted aggressively into ethanol production right as the E20 rollout was accelerating. And look at what happened to its numbers. According to the company's own audit results, in the financial year ending March of 2025, Shyam Agro's revenue jumped by around 500% from 171 crore rupees to over 1029 crore rupees in a single year, and its net profit shoot up by around 740% from around 5 crore rupees to over 41 crore rupees, and the stock price, it exploded from 40 crore rupees in 2024 to over 3000 rupees at its peak. And its brother's company Manas Agro, run by the another Gadkari son, is also in the same sugar and ethanol business. And based on these reports, Congress party has openly pointed out Nitin Gadkari as a conflict of interest, and their own blunt word is the father drafts the policy and the sons cash on it. And they pointed it to the timing of the Shyam pivot and its acquisition, and then they demanded a local probe. But on the other side, Nitin Gadkari has firmly and completely denying of any wrongdoing. But that's not the point, because when the people who makes the policy or vouch for its safety are also connected to those who profit from it, then the public has very right to demand the transparency. So the real issue is not about one family. It's about a system where the referees and the players can look uncomfortably alike. And in any healthy democracy, the honest answer to the concern is not outrage from one side or a defamation threat from another. It's a transparent and independent investigation that cleared the air once and for all. So the question is the great Indian ethanol push a masterstroke or a scam? And the honest and data-driven answer is, it's genuinely a very good policy that executed in a rushed and very bad way. And for today's episode, that's all from my side. But if you learned something very valuable from this case study, then please make sure to share this episode with as many people as possible, especially anyone who owns older vehicle, because they have right to know. And I'll see you in the next one.